Do we have to?
But they might offer us some money somewhere down the line. So
Ben's always keeping his options open.
Actually, I think I probably do draw the line at them. Like, I must admit that it would take some convincing.
I think why?
I just don't like them.
Well, I mean that's plain to see. But
people can hear us starting from there.
Yes. Okay. So I was talking about Sunderland, of course.
Till he dies.
Is that Jamesy? Is that the remnants of Christmas decoration, or like a huge crack going up your wall?
This is boudoir.
Those are just fairy lights, Ben. Those are
lights
to set
off,
the mood.
fairy lights
Fairy
on.
lights, yeah. No, so they are. I basically repurposed my Christmas decorations and thought it'd be nice to have an extra light source in the room. You know, the mood lighting, Ben. It's very important.
Yeah.
It's very important when you're setting the
scene. Whoever gets in there.
I put some Usher on.
Oh,
the fairy lights come on. If we're having like a normal vanilla night, it's just standard constant light. Or if we're going to spice things up, flashing party lights.
And is it you make me wanna?
Yeah, I mean that's one of them. I'll usually put on like the Usher Mega Mix.
That's probably I'm spent with that one.
And then Cisco Thong Song to finish things off.
Dong, 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 dong. I like it when the fairy lights. Go.
The song that apparently spans generations. I think that's the only song I've ever referenced that both Ben and Dave have known.
That's because it came out in 2001.
And because it's absolutely horrific.
And he was 25 and I was
Ben, was it
7.
No, 2001, your last year at uni?
Mine?
Yeah.
Oh, no. 2001, I was working in the pub industry. I was leaving the pub industry to go and work in a print factory.
How fucking old are you? Print factory. What?
Oh, okay. They still have printers these days, Dave.
Fuck off. Right, James,
Okay,
we are ready. We are live.
Right, I've done a tweet, guys, so go and retweet it.
Oh, man.
I can't believe this is working. I'm so excited that this is working without any problems.
No.
Although we are the wrong way round, but
all right, guys. Well, it's 3 minutes past. Shall we get cracking?
All right. I haven't even picked my team yet, by the way.
Neither have I.
Oh, well, that's great. Well, we can get stuck in.
5, 4, 3.
Oh, you've done that weird countdown thing again. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Fantasy Weekly podcast sponsored by footstock.com. We are here. We are live. I'm in bed. It is Saturday morning, probably the earliest that Dave has ever been up. And we're coming to you talking about Game Week 21. We're going to be covering the latest transfer news. We're going to be talking about Mohamed Salah, Harry Kane, Leeds players, other topics that are currently being discussed in the FPL community. To get to it, we need a good panel. And luckily, we've got one. We'll start with the host of today's live stream, Mr. FPL Dave. Dave, how you doing?
Hello, James. I'm very hungover this morning.
Yeah, I gathered by the
Jesus. Can somebody
the fact that your voice is about 7 baritones deeper than usual.
This is actually my normal voice. I'm just really always very excited when I'm talking to you. I'm like, I can't believe it's James from that magazine.
So, Dave, how was Game Week 20? How you doing?
I was over the average, but under my average. So I had a good game week compared to you, but I didn't have a good game week compared to Holly, which is a good segue. Yes,
you've set yourself some very lofty standards in recent weeks, Dave, so it must have been difficult for you to have been taken back down to earth, so to speak, with a still above average score.
I've been hitting eagles for weeks, and I just got my first par, and it just feels a bit shit.
Dave, how long have you been up for?
12 minutes. 12 minutes.
Excellent. Excellent. You can't tell, mate. You can't tell.
Right, perfect.
Holly, let's come on to you then. Dave has already alluded to your good game week. How good was it?
Well, Tuesday was just insane because I think I had 4 double-digit scores across Tuesday and ended up already on 70 points. So I had Souček, who I started with 15, Gundogan with 14, who was my transfer in, Cancelo with 17. We've been waiting a long time for that haul, and Rafinha with 13. So very good Tuesday. It did fizzle out a little bit, but I ended up on 80 points, which has taken me from 95k to 30k. So I am breathing down Dave's neck once again, having thought that he was out of sight only a week ago. So it's crazy how quickly things can change.
Well, congratulations. Can I say, Holly, beautiful morning T-shirt you've got on there.
Yeah, I'm on brand.
Yeah,
I don't know if you can quite see it.
I keep forgetting to mention.
I know, it's been like 3 weeks since we've told everyone who
So
we're sponsored by.
it is good that I've now got an opportunity that Holly is thrust in front of my eyes. Thank you, Holly. And congratulations on your great game week. That means 2 panellists in the top 50k now. A panellist not in the top 50k. In fact, not in the 1 million, but still ploughing away. Mr. Ben Dinnery. Ben, how's it going?
The people's favourite.
Good morning. Great game week for me. Great game week compared to you. A great game week compared to Dave, and not so great compared to Holly. But I will take 60 points all day long.
You got 60 points?
Yep, and I had Souček on the bench as well. So
You all had Souček on the bench.
We did. Well, we're going to talk about Souček, actually, and benching decisions in general on this podcast. We're also going to be going through captains as well. All of your questions will be answered, folks. If you get them in the chat, Dave has already given you a reminder. Do throw them in there. I've already got a question from Nerd with 2 Ds. He's just deleted his question.
Can I just say,
as I was looking at it.
You've actually just skated past the fact that I got 60 points. No reference, no well done.
I said you got 60 points.
That was it?
Yeah, well, Ben, 60 points is not enough to pull you into credibility. Okay. It's going to take more than 60 points on a one-off game week. Do it again this week and we'll talk. Nerd has reposted his question at the bottom now. He really wants me to see it. He says, triple City defence or Gundogan for Souček? So let's talk about Man City first and foremost, guys. Nerd has pretty much summed up the question circulating around FPL managers' minds at the moment. Do we go for the triple City defence? Do we bring in Gundogan if we don't already have him? And what the hell do we do with Souček? What a headache he is becoming. Ben, let's start with you. You've already got Cancelo, Diaz as well. So you're already on a double Man City defence. What are you saying about the triple?
If I was going to triple up, it would have to be Edison. I would have concerns with regards to Pep in rotation.
He asked Ben. I don't know why he asked Ben.
I would want to start that in there, if that's all right with you, Holly. When it comes to you, you can have your opinion. For me, my concern would be which 3 City defenders is Pep going to be starting. We've seen Kyle Walker bench through the week. I think Cancelo and Diaz are nailed. I don't even think John Stones is. You've got Laporte, who's back in the squad. You've got Nathan Ake, who isn't too far away. You've got fixtures coming thick and fast. I want players who I can more or less nail minutes on. And I'm still not even convinced Cancelo will start week in, week out. I think the only one in there is Diaz. Diaz and the goalkeeper.
I have -4'd him in, so that's good to hear. Dave, let's come to you. What are your thoughts on this? Triple Man City defence sounds kind of stressful.
I was listening to FPL Surgery, who had a very good point that I wasn't really thinking about before, but now anytime anyone asks me about triple anyone in defence, I always come back to this point, and it was pretty much that if you triple down on any defence, you're going to miss out on so many very good defenders because you're not looking at defenders anymore. So if you triple on City defence, you're going to be paying attention to your midfield, your strikers, and if a new, Dallas emerges or something, you're not going to go anywhere near him because you're too busy with your triple City. So for me, I think it's just, not only is it really risky and all your eggs are in one basket, but also you're going to miss out on like the next Dallas or Chilwell or whoever becomes amazing. You're going to be a lot more conservative with your defensive transfers as soon as you do that triple up. So for me, I think just for the health of everyone's squad, I would just do Gundogan and just leave it.
Holly, he's in prolific form. A lot of FPL managers are depending on him at the moment. It's not Ben Dinnery, it's Gundogan. He is playing fantastically at the moment. Not only are people taking hits to bring him in this week after his great performance last week, they're also considering captaining him as well. And by people, I include myself in that category. Holly, is Gundogan, I'll use the word, I don't like to use it, I don't use it very often either. Is he essential?
I don't think so. I don't think he is essential. I mean, I'm also probably going to give him the armband this week, but things change very quickly in FPL, don't they? I mean, the reason I like him so much this week is that it's a great fixture. He's on penalties. He's going to start because he was subbed on like the 51st minute of the last game, and he was playing very advanced. And I think Pep alluded to it in his press conference, but the way his team lines up at the moment, basically the front 2 or 3 players are man marked, and then it's those players like Gundogan who just floats into the box that ends up getting the space to put those chances away. So he is a very good option for this week and is a very good captaincy option. I don't think you want to be on a triple City defence because you're kind of locked into that, and you can't move for the likes of the City attackers if one really starts to come to the fore. But whether you'd sell Souček for Gundogan, it kind of depends on what formation you're in. If you're playing a 5-man midfield, obviously you'd get him in because Souček is more of a bench player that you don't play every week. But if you've got 3 strong forwards as well, I don't know whether it's worth the move to get him, because I don't think he is essential in the context of the next few weeks, even though he's a very good option for this week.
Thanks, Holly. We'll come back to Souček later. Let's discuss arguably the most discussed topic ahead of game week 21. We should cover it here because we've got exactly the man to give us the latest. Harry Kane and his double ankle injury. Ben, firstly, can we get an update on Harry Kane's current status?
The party line from Jose Mourinho, obviously both ankles. The first knock wasn't a major issue. The second knock that he took was the one that actually forced him off. What we do know about these types of injuries, it already happened on Thursday evening. So these injuries evolve. They can end up worse than initially thought, or they can end up a little bit better than initially thought. Scanning will help us or give a little bit of insight into the severity of that problem, although, as we've talked about before, it will by no means give you any kind of definitive diagnosis or definitive time frame. Mourinho was quoted as saying it's likely to be around about a few weeks. Now, depending on which area of the press that you follow and you read, I've seen anything from 3 to 4 weeks up to 2 months. Of course, it could be 3 months. It could be 6 months. We just don't know at this particular point in time. What I would say from just visually looking at the video analysis, yes, it's painful. Yes, it's sore. But does it look like one of those, grade 3 ruptures of the ligaments that would require surgery and keep them out, long term? Certainly not. Concerns in the past with Harry Kane, he has suffered a number of ankle problems, ankle ligament injuries. Now, when that keeps on happening, you have a laxity in the joint. So if you can imagine, those ligaments keep that ankle fixed in a place and minimize the roll, and that stops, minimizes any sprains to the ligaments and so on and so forth. The more sprains you have in that ligament, the looser it becomes. And therefore, there may be a point, it's somewhere down the line, where Harry Kane may require surgery. Now, I'm not saying that is the case at this point in time. I'm just trying to give an overall picture of where we're at. What we do know is, like I say, it's serious enough to take him out of the game, which is a concern because Harry Kane is a fairly robust player. He does tolerate a lot of injuries. Contrary to popular belief where he's injury prone. He isn't. Up until that hamstring surgery, I think his availability was in and around 90% over the previous 5 seasons, despite those ankle injuries. So he does play and he is available. look, I would say, I would suggest maybe at this point we are looking at maybe somewhere between 2 and 4 weeks. Once you have imaging, that may confirm that diagnosis, or it could maybe extend a little bit beyond that.
We really need to get Imogen on the pod.
Yeah, no, Imogen seems like the one to know. Ben, this is the main test to know this answer, is to ask you this specifically, and it's, did you take Kane out?
Nope.
Ooh.
And the reason I didn't take Kane out, I have fires to fight elsewhere. I also own Anthony Martial, who is absolutely horrendous at the moment. I'm not one for taking any hits, so I brought in DCL midweek, and if I was to bring anybody out of this game week, it's probably going to be Martial, and I will go with maybe a 4-4-2 or even a 3-5-2 and leave Harry Kane on the bench. Wait until a further update, maybe over the next 24 to 48 hours, and if needs be, I will take him out ahead of game week 22.
Right, so you're waiting for Imogen's call. Gotcha.
Yeah, on the down low.
Right. Okay. Cool. We'll find out what's going on next week then. James, back to you.
Thanks, Dave. Thank you. Back in the studio. Can I just very quickly say before we move on, 46 people watching now. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let us know where you are in the world. What are you doing this morning? Are you eating breakfast? Are you drinking coffee, tea, maybe something harder? Maybe you're in a different time zone, cracking into a bottle of red. Let us know in the chat. I'm interested, even if none of the panel are. And remember, keep firing in those questions. We would love to do our best to answer them over the course of this stream. Okay, Andreas says Kane to DCL for a hit. Forced to bench Bumboy, don't know who that is, or Saka if so. Dave, you have alluded to bringing in DCL this week. He is popular despite his recent form. Does he deserve that popularity? Is he about to shift his form? Or should we be looking elsewhere?
The reason why everyone's talking about him is because Rodriguez is back, Dean is back. They've got a little bit of a fixture swing coming up, and on top of that, they might also have a double in game week 23 or roundabout there. So I think everyone's kind of looking at DCL as an easy way away from Kane. It's just kind of a similar situation when KDB got injured, and now we all have a free striker position. Or a lot of people who didn't have Kane were actually thinking about getting him and captaining him for this game week, and now they can't do that. They're going to have to switch their plans up. So yeah, DCL is an easy one to go to because he's had previous form. We know he can do it, and all the recipe that made him so prolific in the first part of the season, he's got that same recipe coming up. So I like DCL. I really like him, but we just don't know who's having that double. I think I would maybe wait a little bit longer just to find out if it is going to be Ings, because there's possibility that Southampton get that double instead of Everton. So I'm personally going to wait for that, I think. However, if you're going to get DCL, but you could also get Ings later on because you've just downgraded Kane, you've got so much money, then yeah, that's fair enough with me as well. So I like it. I think he's a great pick. Most of the Everton guys are looking really good these days.
Absolutely. Guys, we've got people tuning in from Lithuania, Malaysia, Pakistan, Ireland, England as well. England, can you believe it, guys? We've got people from England tuning in as well. Andreas lives in Bamford. I don't know where Bamford is, but Andreas is tuning in from there as well. So thanks, Andreas, for tuning in from Bamford. Say hi to everyone in Bamford.
Say hi to Bamford.
Me. Holly, you do not have Kane, so you don't have the headache that a lot of FPL managers are facing this week. If you did have Kane, would it be DCL for you, or are you looking at some alternatives? I think of the likes of Ings. I also think of the player that I've bought in this week,
Benteke.
Lacazette. Not Benteke. I haven't gone back to the Christian side just yet. But there are alternatives, aren't there? And actually, I think this is symptomatic of perhaps a lack of obvious options. It does mean that the field is a little bit more open than it would usually be.
Yeah, so there's probably 4 or 5 forwards that we're all considering at the moment. I mean, Antonio has the form, but the fixtures are a little bit mixed. Then you've got DCL, who's got the fixtures, but obviously no form. But, Everton hopefully will be getting themselves back in the groove, having got, their first 11 now available. I do like Lacazette, he's obviously got form, but the fixtures again are mixed, which is probably why not a lot of people are talking about Lacazette. We don't know what's going on with Aubameyang, whether he's, available for this weekend, and there is that slight rotation risk with Lacazette, but he is one of those confidence players, so hopefully that should prove well for you, James. The other ones, you've obviously got Oliver Watkins as well, who Aston Villa, I think, have got 2 fixtures to be rearranged at the moment, and maybe it's 3. So obviously he's got fixtures on his side, and the fixtures are very good, and he's got the form. So I think probably Watkins is the one that's flying under the radar. The trouble is with him is that you always comparing him to Grealish, and there's so many good options in midfield at the moment, and trying to fit all of these players in is tough, but you'd probably go for Grealish over Watkins, and whether you want to go for the double up causes a little bit of a headache. And then we've got Danny Ings as well, obviously. Southampton have still got a fixture to be rearranged as well. We've not seen a lot from Ings since he's got back into the side, but surely the potential's there for more goals very soon. And I feel like it's that game this weekend, Southampton-Aston Villa, that finished 4-3 earlier in the season. So I can see a similar result and bags of goals for both sides in that one.
Good to hear. Beautifully summarised, Holly. We'll stay on you to talk about our next topic, which is Mo Salah. Continues to blank despite what I thought was an incredibly good performance worthy of FPL returns against Spurs. Dave's giggling away in that smug way that he does as a non-owner. We'll get to you shortly, Dave. But before that, Holly, you are a Salah owner. Are you staying with him?
Yeah, absolutely. I think if that goal that he scored hadn't been ruled out by VAR for handball, then, and it was a tight one, then...
It was about 7 minutes.
It wasn't tight. It wasn't tight. He absolutely just spattered with his arm.
Firmino touched it in the first half with his hand, and due to the butterfly effect,
he molested it.
He
molested that ball with his arm, mate.
But if that goal had stood, then we wouldn't even be having this conversation, would we? And, a few of the opponents that he's got coming up next, West Ham, and I think Brighton's coming up as well soon. He's got a great record against, and it's Mo Salah. Obviously it's unheard of that he blanks for 6 Premier League games in a row, but that's surely can't continue forever. He's on penalties, and I was really convinced by his performance in the FA Cup, where he got a couple of goals against Manchester United. Obviously Liverpool didn't get the result there, but that win against Spurs is going to build their confidence now. So they've scored 5 goals in their last 2 games, and not against the easiest of opposition. So I think that sort of rut that Liverpool have been in from an attacking perspective is probably over now. So surely at some point Salah's going to start firing again.
We hope so. Dave, you are a non-owner. You are loving life at the moment. He's blanking. You're sitting there watching the games. Mane's scoring all the goals. Firstly, is Mane making himself a FPL prospect once more? Secondly, do you feel, having watched that performance against Spurs, in which Salah was robbed, you would argue, of two assists and a goal, that the question of whether or not to bring in Salah is when, not an if?
I am scared every week, James, of not owning Salah. It is very difficult to keep watching Liverpool games because he's so close to scoring, and he's got that look in his eyes that I'm going to score every time I touch the ball. It's very difficult. I want him back now that I don't have the Kane and Son double up, which was my kind of differential, my thing that I had other than Salah. Now that Kane's gone, I don't really trust Son. And now I'm looking at bringing Salah back in. He absolutely can't continue this form, this rut, because he did score against Man United. Let's not forget, he scored 2 goals there, and then he did technically score, but it was ruled out. So that's 3 goals in 2 games. I'm very scared as a non-owner, and I consider myself extremely lucky. So yeah, I'm going to probably bring him in. Now, the question about Mane, we've said it time and time again, and not only just this season, but the last 2 seasons, is that you just pick one and you stick with it. We all know the argument. Salah's got penalties. Mane's a little tiny bit better than him, probably. And that's it. So one's going to do really well one week, one's going to do shite that same week, and we're all going to be talking about the guy who did well. And so too is it this week. Mane outscored him this week. Will he continue to outscore him? I don't know. I mean, probably if I was going to go for Mane, I think I would have to have Salah as well, just so I would feel safe. But I don't think I'll ever pick Mane over Salah. Ever.
Barry Devaney in the chat is pumping Salah like a GameStop stock. Salah loves a goal against West Ham. Top scorer in league, Salah is, despite recent blanks, he's due a haul. I can only assume that Barry has got him captain this week and is hoping his good juju is going to transmit to Mo Salah himself. He could be watching, of course. We've got FPL General in the house who's watching from Scotland. Woo! Also got viewers from Norway and New Jersey as well. Must be so early in New Jersey. So fair play to the commitment there. Thanks all for tuning in. A panelist who we forget has not had Salah, I think, all season, and every week bravely turns up on this podcast nonetheless. Ben Dinnery. Ben, you obviously don't own Salah, as with a lot of the kind of mainstream, highly owned premiums. Is it time for you, do you think, to migrate on now that people are actually getting rid of him? Could this be the stimulus you need to move on to him?
No.
Okay. Thank you, Ben. Right, let's move.
I would absolutely love to own Salah. I would love to. He's still 38% owned within the community. It needs to be coming down to about 7 or 8% before I would give it some serious consideration. But if I wasn't so anti-template, Mo Salah would be straight in my team. Without a shadow of a doubt, no hesitation, over Mane, Bosch.
So if Salah picks up some kind of cruciate ligament injury, for example, and is out for the next 6 months, he could well make it onto your bench.
Straight in. I'll even withdraw me set and forget for Salah.
Okay. Wow, that's a bold statement. Folks. Let's very quickly address a question from Dylan Williams in the chat. It's going to be a 30-second answer. I'm going to ask Holly to give it to me, please. Should I play Reece James or James Justin? He says. Battle of the Jameses.
Reece James, because I think Chelsea have got a better chance of a clean sheet, and even if he doesn't start, then James Justin's going to sub in, and I think Leeds will score against Leicester, but I think Leicester and James Justin has got a very good chance of an attacking return.
Absolutely smashed it. Let's talk about Leeds players, please, because there are a couple of discussable Leeds assets at the moment. Firstly, we have Patrick Bamford, by far the most owned, one of the least informed players in that Leeds side. Then we've got the new upcoming talent that is Rafinha, who seems to be playing fantastically at the moment. It's very affordable in midfield. And we have a plethora of defenders as well. The likes of Dallas have been popular. Alioski, who I got rid of this week, who has seen some popularity in recent times. What are we doing with Leeds assets at the moment? They ultimately, whilst they are exciting and Bielsa is a genius, etc., they're not necessarily getting the results, are they, folks? So let's start with you, Dave. You don't own any Leeds players, do you? Or do you?
I've got wee Bamford up top.
Oh, you do have Bamford.
Aye. And Ben's shake of his head suggests, I'm not very happy with him. 3 blanks, I think, for the first time this season, which is pretty good for a 6.6 midfield striker. I mean, I can't really expect more. But the striker position is getting a little bit crowded now. Watkins is scoring, Antonio's doing it. We've got DCL and Ings to contend with. You've got Lacazette in, who's been scoring as well. So all these guys are returning, and then Bamford owners are just sitting there with their 2 points, wondering what happened. I was planning on doing Grealish in this week for Souček, because I'm never playing Souček anyway. And then I've got money in the bank for Bamford upgrade. However, Kane has kind of thrown that plan out the window. So I'm probably just going to keep Bamford for a little while. There's no reason for me to touch him when I've got fires to fend off elsewhere. But if I didn't, then Bamford is definitely the one in my team that I would be heavily considering getting rid of just now.
Holly, fellow Bamford owner.
Yeah, I've got Bamford and Rafinha, and I've seen quite a few managers selling Rafinha this week to get in the likes of Gundogan and Grealish, which I do feel it is a bit premature given his form, even though we can't expect double digits from him every week. I do feel a little bit overcommitted on Leeds' attack right now, given their current form. But you never know when that next game is, when they decide to score 3, 4, 5 goals. The trouble is, obviously, Bamford was substituted in the 59th minute in midweek. And you've also got to weigh up the fact that his stats are way down. And the last few times where Leeds have, been really among the goals, he's tended to just get one return, a goal or an assist. But he is still on penalties as well, which we've got to consider, because I've also seen quite a few managers benching Bamford this week. And I know that Leicester's defence has been very solid, but they've got Ndidi out now. So I feel like there's going to be more opportunities for Leeds to attack Leicester than maybe there has been in other games. So I think you can be a little bit more patient with your Leeds assets, certainly for the next week, before taking any rash decisions to sell.
Yeah, I can see a few people in the chat saying they're going to bench him this week. So word to the wise there. Holly, I want to open up a wider conversation about budget midfielders. Are we in the age of the budget midfielder? I look at your team. I see Rafinha, 13 points. Souček, 15 points. Gundo, 14 points. Saka as well, double returned at the weekend. All of these players under 6 million, all of them performing incredibly well. And then look at your premiums. Fernandes, captain, 2-point haul. Salah, 2 points. What are we playing at? We should be saving money in midfield, right? Reallocating to defence, and then we can have whoever we want in attack.
Well, it's crazy. I don't think we've ever been in this situation before where we've really struggled to spend the cash on the premium attacking players. But, you look at Spurs, Kane's out. We don't know how Son's going to perform without Kane. So that sort of gives his stock a little bit less credibility. Then we look to Liverpool. Salah has been underperforming. Mane's done okay in one game, but he tends to be stop-start. So do we need to be on Liverpool attack right now? Not necessarily. Even Fernandes is going through a bit of a poor spell from his, high standards. He's not had a double-digit return since game week 17. Obviously, Manchester United haven't had any penalties in that time, which hasn't helped him. And then you look at City, and, the three probably go-to City players that we want are a double defence, and then Gundogan's got that popularity at the moment because he's got the form. There is Sterling in there. Foden as well has been popular, but, there's no one in that premium price bracket right now that feels like a must-have. So why not go with these cheaper players that are performing? I think there's a few, like Saka, for example, who hasn't had a lot of transfers in this week, even though he's in great form. And, Souček and Rafinha probably haven't got the easiest fixtures on paper this week either. But I still think you could have a 5-man midfield and not spend more than maybe, Jack Grealish's price as your most expensive player, and have 20 million in the bank if you wanted to.
Yeah, and Grealish, Maddison, all great examples of these mid-price midfielders who are really in form at the moment. Another one, less spoken about, but I still think worthy of mention, Wilfried Zaha, who of course is in Ben Dinnery's team, and James Ward-Prowse, both of whom have been shining lights in a mixed season for Ben, I think it's fair to say. Ben, does James Ward-Prowse deserve a spot in that England squad for Euro 2021?
There's a lot of competition in those midfield places. You Jack Grealish, you've seen James Maddison really come to the fore in recent times. He offers something different. It's well documented. He's a dead ball specialist, probably the best in the Premier League, arguably, or certainly the best Englishman. He's been one of the Saints' shining lights since the beginning of Project Restart. I really like him. I think he really suits Southampton's style of play, and he's instrumental to the way they play. So, look, I think he might need a little bit of luck, to force himself into that squad. But on the way he performed during the first half of the season, he's not going to be far away.
Cheers, Ben. Pete McGuinness says, "Hey guys, would you start Castagna over Shea Adams this week? Thanks." Let's talk about benches, guys. I know I wasn't the only FPL manager last week to have an incredible bench. Souček was on there. I also had Watkins on there as well. A lot of people benched the likes of Dawson and Cresswell, who both got attacking returns for West Ham too. It was a torrid week for anyone who benched Souček. What do we do here? Because I've seen people transferring out Souček almost to relieve themselves of that benching headache. Dave, we'll start with you. You're someone who has had the transfer clicker hovering over Souček this week.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts here? Because he is returning at the end of the day, and for his price point, can you do any better than that?
I can't do any better than him returning. I can't really help that. My problem is that I'm never sure when to play him and when not, and I hate having lots of money in my bench. So I'm trying to look at ways of downgrading my bench whenever and however I can. Yes, Souček is performing, but he had a great fixture last week and I didn't play him because I felt like I had too many good players in my team and I couldn't fit them all in. I also benched Cresswell. So my point would be that if I didn't bench him if I didn't play him last week, then I'm certainly not going to play him this week against Liverpool, and I've got the exact same team. So if you're not playing a player who's returning a lot like that, then I would suggest just to get rid of him or play him every single game. And I'm not prepared to play him every single game, so I'm just going to get rid of him. I've not got Grealish. I've not got Salah. Those are two players that, you know, it seems like everyone either has or is hoping to get in the near future. Or captain even with Salah, especially for next week. So it's really difficult for me to justify having Gundogan, Bruno, Son, and Souček in my team. Although we did just talk about how well they're all doing, I don't think I'm going to see a Souček 2-goal in the near future, though. I think it was a little bit of a freak thing.
Do you know what? I just want to interject there, because I'm thinking Fabinho out, Joel Matip out, you've got Jordan Henderson you're going to go in centre back. Nat Phillips hasn't looked great, young lad, just learning his trade. If I was David Moyes looking at that Liverpool team, I'd be getting Souček, higher up the pitch. It would be Cresswell and Koufal, putting them in the box. I would be putting a lot of pressure. Souček's great in the air, and Liverpool just haven't got a big dominating centre back. No Van Dijk, no Gomez, to be able to, to try and to quell those waves of attack coming in from the flanks. We know Cresswell can put it on a pinhead, and it wouldn't surprise me if Souček again pops up with another goal, possibly two, particularly from set pieces.
Ben, don't say that.
That's pretty compelling. That is pretty good. I do like that logic.
Holly said that the other day as well, I think.
I know, but the other day someone asked me on Twitter when I posted my team, why are you playing Souček over, I can't remember who I benched in the end, Shea Adams. And I said, Crystal Palace have been really poor aerially, so I could see plenty of potential from set pieces and open play. I feel like, yes, Ben's got a valid point there, but I do think that in terms of the attacks that West Ham have, I think they're going to have a lot more joy from open play. And, Souček's going to have quite a lot of defensive work to do in this game, handling the likes of Firmino. So I feel like it's going to be on the break where West Ham get joy, particularly maybe, targeting Trent and whoever plays next to him at the back. So I can see more of a Cresswell to Antonio attack than Souček getting in there from open play. So that's why I'm benching him this week.
Diego on the chat says Antonio with 4 goals in 6 versus Liverpool, more than any other West Ham player. He is a man in form at the moment. Holly, based on Ben's logic, it could be that Antonio is the beneficiary of Liverpool's weakened defence at the moment. Do we think, at what point does Antonio become a captaincy shout? I know it sounds ridiculous, but when we're looking at the likes of Gundogan, for example, we're clearly not worried about price points here when it comes to captaincy. In terms of form, it's hard to trump Antonio at the moment.
Yeah, and West Ham are a side in form as well. You've got to remember that they've been flirting with the top 4 as well in the last week as well. So you can't just, write them off as, a bottom of the table team and, cheap assets and they're not going to deliver. I think the only issue with Antonio that we need to bear in mind is he has just come back from injury. He played, basically the full game in both games during a double game week. He's played 82 minutes midweek. We've still got weekend games, midweek games, and weekend games again. So at some point, is he going to get benched? His minutes still have to be managed. So I think that's just enough to put me off the armband for Antonio because of his injury record for subsequent weeks.
Okay. Oblivious says, thoughts on Maddison for this week? Very quickly, Dave, what are your thoughts on Maddison for this week?
I've decided to go without any of the Leicester players. I know they all look good, but Vardy just throws too much of a wrench in it for me. I don't know how well they'll perform without him. I don't even know what the lineup's going to look like now, with who's taking the striker position at any given week. I know that the manager came out and said that it was probably going to be, was it Perez? And then that happened, but is that going to continue to happen? And blah, 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 blah. I do like Maddison, but James, you said it best in Fire and Blanks. You said he is an absolute average goal scorer, and it was a good thing when you said it. It was a kind of like, he always goes on these little runs, these little bouts of form, and then he trails off. He's not going to score goals every game. We've seen that he blanked last week. I think owners should be happy, but I feel like I've kind of missed out and I've got too many other things to do. I do like Maddison though. I'd probably never bench him if anyone's thinking about they've got too many players in their team and they're figuring out who to bench. Don't bench Maddison ever.
Cheers, Dave. Ben, Carl Casey in the chat earlier said, thoughts on the big bus stop in the Spurs dressing room on Thursday. #free Surge. I have to admit, this is the first I've heard of this. Am I living under a rock, or is this relatively niche insider knowledge, perhaps?
You'd probably have to explain that question to me.
Kyle, get in the chat and tell us what you're on about, mate.
There was rumours at half-time that Lloris and Aurier got in some sort of fight or disagreement at half-time, and then that's why Lloris had a shocking second half. Aurier then didn't stay at the ground after half-time, and that's why Doherty was on for the whole game, and Spurs looked off it, as well as having that Harry Kane going off impact. I don't know whether it's true or not, but that's what I heard.
Well, what I would say then, and obviously we're reading between the lines because it's rumours essentially, Serge Aurier is carrying an ongoing and niggling underlying injury, which is why you see him rotated in and out on the bench. We've seen him drop for the Europa League games and so on and so forth. So that's a fact. Tottenham conceded just before half time, right? So they'll be going into that dressing room massively disappointed. They obviously had their first goal disallowed as well, and probably feel a little bit aggrieved. It's a highly charged environment. Nothing that would be said and done that probably doesn't happen every day on the training pitches and in changing rooms, up and down the country every weekend. Look, I'd be very surprised if something like that was allowed to fester away and impact on the team allegedly as it did. It's players are passionate, players want to win, players want to go out and do their best. You want your players arguing, you want your players to actually give a shit about going out there and caring about what's happening on the pitch. Because if they're just trundled in the changing room, I mean, can you imagine Jose Mourinho saying, you've just conceded, lads, don't worry, I'm sure we'll get this back. Now you want to show a little bit of fight. And if a defender and Lloris as captain, should be going out there and standing and picking on players and telling them, if you don't get your arse into gear and you don't book your ideas up, we're going to lose this game, and I don't want you on the pitch. So it's about characters in that team, and that's what you need, especially in those big games, small margins.
I love it when you get passionate, Ben. I love it when you rally the troops.
Talk about Rashford next.
It's emotional. Too early in the morning for that kind of emotion. I'm going to start welling up.
He's dead to me, him.
Guys, we have 17 minutes before the deadline. So let's get into the real meat of game week 21 now. I want to know about specific transfers, and then I want to know about your captains. Liam Healy has asked the most pertinent question of them all so far. Have you done your transfers yet? So let's go back to Ben, who I believe hasn't.
I haven't. I'm actually looking at my team now. I have one free transfer. I refuse to take any hits. So I'm drawn between Harry Kane will go on the bench. I will happily bring Souček in for the reasons I outlined before. Anthony Martial is a player that will probably get the axe, and I'm looking at Antonio. That would be the call. Okay. And yes, I have valid concerns as outlined by Holly. I have those exact same worries. But I just think, there's a lack of... The other one could have possibly been Watkins. It's Watkins or Antonio. I will decide in the next 5 to 10 minutes.
Let's try and get him to do something weird, panel. Like
He always does something weird. He's
like
the only one that
Lacazette
doesn't
or
need
something
any
like that.
push.
No, I'm not Lacazette.
Benteke. If you can transfer in Benteke, he got an assist last week. He's looking great. He's back to his best.
Crystal
Will he
Palace
play?
best 5
Will he
fixtures.
play? Will he start?
Yes, the answer is yes.
Yeah,
We
of
can
course
do
you
it.
think?
he's essential. He's essential in that Crystal Palace side. Okay, Dave, what are your transfers?
I haven't done them. I've got 15 minutes left, and I also haven't picked my captain.
Lots of room for manipulation here, Holly. I can
Right.
smell an opportunity.
I will hold on. Let me refresh because
I wouldn't do that. I know that I'm going to finish above Dave this season on merit. I don't need to sabotage his team.
Last time I did a big decision live on the stream, I triple captained Mane before he played for 10 minutes and then got
Get
injured.
over it, but there's been at least 4 decisions you've done on the stream since
whole
then.
year's passed.
There's been at least 4 seasons since then. Yeah.
Right, okay, so I have Cresswell on my team who I'm not playing. He's getting benched, so should I have him in my team at all? I've got Souček, who we've talked about loads, who I don't have Grealish or Salah, and that's both options this week. I've got Kane sitting there who could be out for 3 months, Ben said, so we just don't know.
Yeah.
I also
I
got
said
double Manchester
I would
United defence.
So yeah, I've got Kane sitting in there in Bamford. My problem now is that I have too many midfielders that I want. I've got Gundogan, I've got Fernandes, I've got Son. I want Grealish, I want Salah, and I think I want a Chilwell, which is really annoying because I've got so much money in defence right now. So I really need to figure out who I'm transferring Souček out for this week. If it is Grealish, then that means that I can't get Salah for ages because the money doesn't work. Even if I downgrade Kane, it means I would need to upgrade the likes of Smith Rowe, who is literally at the other end of the price point. So that's going to be a bit difficult. If I go for Salah, then it means I can't get Chilwell, and I only have 4.5 million to spend on a defender. And unfortunately, Rudiger is exactly 4.5 million, and I can't seem to get him out of my head, despite knowing all the obvious problems with him, like, form even, or will he start just because he's German? Am I being racist? There's so many questions, James. So yeah.
Are you leaving Kane, Dave?
Racism.
Well, I can't do anything about him right now. If I downgrade Kane, then I could upgrade Souček still to Grealish or whatever. But my problem is my defense is 2 City guys who are obviously going to be playing, but then I have 2 Man United defenders and a West Ham defender, and that is a lot of money. Like, I've got no defenders under 4.1 million or 5.1 million. I've got so much money in defense, and I really want to start chipping away at that. So Kane, I can leave until we get the call from our favorite person. But yeah, I don't really know what to do.
So I think now you've got shafted by the fact that you did that wildcard 18, bench boost 19, which was fantastic at the time.
It's not shafted, Holly. I know you want. I know you're trying to paint me in a poor light. Like, this is how it's gonna happen. I make an amazing decision, and any chance you get, you're gonna put pins in it. My problem with that is it's just I have actually too much money right now. Like, I've got 6.4 million in the bank. I have way too much money. I just know that I'm probably gonna want that in the future.
Kane is injured.
Yeah.
In the great words of Jessie J, it's not all about the price tag, Dave.
What formation are you going to play?
But exactly.
Don't get rid of Kane.
Right. I'm just going to put my team up then. Right. We're going to be talking about it for ages. Okay. So I can.
We're not, because we've got captains and there's 12 minutes left.
Well, I don't give a shit.
Well, we've already said who we're captaining.
It's going to be Gundogan for most of us. Ben's going to captain someone random.
It's only Dave that needs help.
I do need help.
I don't know who Ben's going to captain.
Right, okay, here we go. Everyone in the chat, let me know what you think as well. So, look, I'm going to cancel out all my benches, right? So that's who I would be benching right now. So 4-4-2. No, wait, hold on. Souček is in because I'm transferring him out no matter what. So Smith Rowe's on the bench. So my bench would be Cresswell first sub, Smith Rowe second sub, Kane third sub. I could take out Souček for Grealish and take Maguire or Wan-Bissaka out for Chilwell, and then I've got a decent 11 to start this week, and I've still got Kane, and I can deal with him next week. Or I take Kane out, but then I can't get, a defender that I really want. So it's really difficult.
What's wrong with your defence at the moment? Like, You play Stones, you play Diaz, and then I'd probably play Creswell.
Against Liverpool.
Yeah, because he's going to assist your Antonio goal.
So who am I getting in midfield? So then you would just leave the midfield. You would get rid of Kane and Souček then. Who would you bring in for Souček? Would you do Grealish or would you do Salah?
Andrea says Souček to Grealish for you, mate. Easy transfer.
I wouldn't sell Souček. I'd sell Smith Rowe.
Smith Rowe. Oh my goodness. What, in downgrade? So that means that I would always have to be playing like a 3-5-2 or a 4-5-1. Right? So that means that I'm foregoing the 3 strikers. So if I'm getting rid of Kane, then I would have to downgrade to someone who's...
You don't have to play Souček every week.
I don't think I'm going to play him at all. I should have done this yesterday. I'm so sorry, James. I've totally derailed it.
No. That's okay. Although I do want to just quickly clarify who we're captaining, just because there will be people sat there really wanting to make sure we get that in before the deadline. So, Holly, you're going Gundo.
Yes.
Dave, who are you going for?
I'll probably go for Salah if I get him in, or Gundogan if I don't.
Okay. Liam says captain Sterling option, Salah captain Sterling or Salah for Liam. What are we saying out of those two, Dave?
I'd go for Sterling.
Dave, he's too busy on his own team.
I'd go for Sterling.
I think Sterling's quite a tasty shout, isn't it?
Yeah.
Andrea says Grealish might be a decent captain shout. Electric versus Burnley and Southampton, not in good form. Personally going Salah though.
And Kyle Walker-Peters is out, so he's going to be playing Valerie on that side, right? Grealish versus Valerie, and we all remember.
He really
Valerie.
should just come on
tasty.
over. Okay, so some interesting differential choices there. We've on Rashford. We've had a few comments about him as well. I actually can't find it now, unfortunately. But people not liking Rashford at the moment, Ben, you're at the end of your tether with him. Will he be your captain this week? Or please, live on stream, can you announce that you're finally leaving this ridiculous dogmatic principle behind you and moving on to pastures anew?
I really, really wish I could tell you that, but unfortunately not. It's driving us crazy, but I will stick with what I said. Rashford's captain. My vice captain will be DCL. So hopefully, not hopefully, but Rashford, may have come down with an overnight illness or picked up a niggle in training, which will rule him out. And I have made me transfer, by the way. I've went absolutely maverick.
Even by Ben's standards.
Even by mine. So Martial is out, and I brought in Mateta.
Who?
Is it Jean-Philippe Mateta? Is that right? Am I pronouncing it right?
He's signing, isn't he?
He is. Roy Hodgson has said he's looked brilliant on the training pitches. Palace have got some great fixtures coming up over the next 6 game weeks.
So you're doubling up on Palace attack with Zaha and Mateta.
Yes.
So you have foregone the Benteke obvious banter that James would have loved, and you've went to a new signing that might not even start.
It is the maverick move.
I hope he scores a hat-trick.
He's own of 0.0% of the community.
Wow. Well, to be fair, Ben, you haven't let yourself down when it comes to your reputation for insanity. If Mateta goes and scores now, you're hosting the pod next week. That's deal. Because I'm sorry, I don't think I can stand here. If he scores. It needs to be you.
Let's get it on, Donkey Kong.
Anyone else in the chat bringing in Mateta 7 minutes before the deadline?
You
Dave,
see
let's come back.
I see Matata.
Let's not call the whole thing off just yet. We've still got 7 minutes. Dave, what is the latest with your team? Have you made any decisions?
No. If I do it, Holly suggested, and get rid of Smith Rowe for Grealish and Kane for, say, DCL, then I've got a bench headache and I don't know who to bench. I would need to bench one of the strikers or midfielders. I've got Bamford potentially getting benched or Souček, and Holly doesn't like that. So it would be Bamford for sub. Are you okay with that?
There's 4 game weeks in a fortnight though, Dave. Like, it is not a problem having a strong bench right now.
Oh, I know, but even this week, like, who am I benching at that point then?
What's the options?
Right, so it would be Grealish, Gundogan, Bruno, Son, Souček, Bamford, DCL, Antonio. One of those.
Souček.
Right, okay, so I'm benching him again. But there's no point in me having him. That's what I'm talking about. I might as well just get rid of him for Grealish and then
I
just
don't think you
bench
should
Smith
make
Rowe.
those moves though, Dave, because your front seven's sounding pretty similar to my front seven now.
Oh, shit. I've got
Ollie's
6 minutes.
worried.
I'm
Ollie's
worried.
worried about the message that it sends. Ed K is bringing in Jesus. He says, watch this space. I reckon Jesus starts and scores, he says. That could have been a differential for you there, Ben. Azek says, Rashford has to go, blood. He's called you blood, Ben, which is probably the last adjective that I would give to you. But alas, he is not convinced by your commitment to Rashford. Dano says, someone give us a hand with that decision. Thanks, or stick to Rashi and Adams to Antonio and leave the -4. Oh, should I go Rashford to Grealish or Gundogan and Adams to either Antonio and DCL for a -4? It's tough. You know what I would say to that, Dano? It's very difficult to justify taking a -4 to bring out a player who is going to start. It's always very dangerous when you're playing with that kind of fire. So I would recommend, if you know that your players are going to start, and we would imagine that Shea Adams would start, I would probably avoid taking a -4 to get rid of him. And we know that Rashford is capable of doing some damage. I mean, Ben has had the odd good captaincy week this season, so there is hope for Rashford yet. He's always been a bit of an on and off kind of player. We did have a shout, and I can't find who said it now, I'm afraid. But we did have a shout. Oh, it was Craig Bond, who said Lingard at West Ham. How have we done an hour on this stream and not acknowledged Lingard's move? Surely he's in everyone's teams at the moment, Holly.
Yeah, he's just such a good young player and, you know, bags of potential. Very long career to have at West Ham. Get him in.
I couldn't have said it better myself. MYS says, how is captaining Sterling versus Gundogan? How does that sound? Interesting here. If you had Sterling and Gundogan, which one would you go for? The price point says Sterling, the form says Gundo, although both players performing pretty well in recent weeks. Ben, who would you be choosing?
Not that I would ever pick Sterling, but I would go differential. I think would be Sterling this week. Just judging on my timeline, the number of people that have said they're picking Gundogan up and going to captain him, I think I would definitely go Sterling.
Okay, interesting. Dave, I've been trying to buy you some time, mate.
Thank you. I'm on a -8 potentially.
You're okay. This is all spiraling out of control. Holly is loving it. She's sitting there silent in the wings, loving these latest developments. What is your -8?
Chilwell in for Cresswell because I'm not playing him. Grealish in for ESR instead of Souček. Benching Souček and bringing Calvert-Lewin in for Kane. A -8 would be a 3-4-3 with Bamford, Calvert-Lewin, Antonio up front, Chilwell, Diaz and Stones at the back, and then I'm playing Grealish, Gundogan, Fernandes and Son with Souček first bench. That's who I think. It's just a case.
It is then. Less than 180 seconds to go.
Oh,
Dave.
fuck, don't
I say pull the trigger. Chat, what we saying?
Dave's lost it. This is where his season derails.
I just shouldn't have done what I did last night. I should have paid attention to this. I thought I'll do it in the morning.
Exactly. You can't be a sensible FPL manager and not have your team locked in ahead of time on a Friday evening.
We know.
You're on furlough, Dave. You've had since like the press conference is finished at 2:00 on Friday.
Holly, I managed to do it every single game week. Just sensible FPL.
Right, You're right. I've done my transfers. Fuck that. Right. Okay.
What is it? What have you done? What's the final? Is it the -8?
No, it's not the -8.
Or it's Ballfest. Snooze. End the stream.
Yeah. Shame.
I have done Grealish in for Souček. Grealish is in for Souček, which I've always planned to do, and I'm not changing
I hate that you won't Grealish.
And I've put in Chilwell instead of Cresswell because there's honestly no point in me.
Hopefully Alonso doesn't start then.
Yeah, drop the day, Chilwell.
Well, that's okay. I don't mind.
So you basically made your team a little bit more similar to mine.
Yeah, that's okay. That's all right.
To premium.
Wait, is Chilwell
assets.
definitely potentially getting dropped? Are you just saying that? Who have you got in your hub?
I'm starting Chilwell.
Right. Okay. Good. Right.
There you go.
And then if I want Salah next week, I can do that. Okay.
All right. It's 10:59. Let's answer Dev Adji's question, who says, "Should I start Aaron Wan-Bissaka or Corbin Dallas?" We've got seconds to answer this question. Dave.
Dallas. playing in
Dallas.
centre attack mid last game.
Bench Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who Dave actually owns. So that is what more indictment on Aaron Wan-Bissaka do you need than that? Devaj, play Dallas and blame Dave if it all goes tits up, which, let's face it, it probably will.
Yeah.
All right, Holly, any final thoughts? Excited?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to taking top spot in the mini league this week.
Oh, fighting talk, I like it. Ben, what's your target this week? 1.7 million at the moment, hoping to crack that 1 million, top 1 million?
No, just looking to surge past you, which will happen before the end of February.
Okay, wow, the gauntlet has been laid. I'm currently 850k. I'm half your rank, Ben, so anything could happen.
I would just use every single chip over the next few weeks to make sure it happens.
Yeah, I mean, if you're using them on Rashford, then I can't sound too worried, to be quite frank. Guys, that is it. It is 11 o'clock. We have reached the FPL deadline. How are your teams looking? Are you excited? Let us know in the chat. We don't really, I mean, that's pretty much it, isn't it? This is a pre-deadline stream, so we're not going to spend too long post-deadline. There's nothing more we can do for you now, I'm afraid. The teams are locked in. Decisions have been made. They can no longer be reversed. Isn't it fun? 1.5 hours until the first kickoff, which is Everton versus Newcastle. Exciting one to kick off for those who bought in any Everton assets, particularly new DCL owners, of which I am not one. Ben, you're a Newcastle supporter. Do you think it's going to be a pasting?
It's a difficult one. On the form that we've been, is 11 without a win, 3 or 4-1 Everton.
Okay, wow. You would imagine DCL will pick up some returns if it's a scoreline like that. I'll be hoping for the opposite. I'll be hoping for a nice 1-1 with Andre Gomez and Jamal Lascelles on the score sheet. That would be ideal for me. All right, folks. Well, I think we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for tuning in. We had a really consistent viewership throughout this, which was lovely to see. Enjoyed all the engagement in the chat. Apologies if I didn't get your question. I did my utmost. I think we got to most of them, but sorry if I missed yours out. And good luck for Game Week 21 viewers. I think we're all going to need it. It's going to be eventful. I expect rotation. I expect surprise, twists and turns along the way, all part of the fun. Fantasy Weekly will be back at some point next week. We don't know in what form because we've got more midweek fixtures next week, if I'm not mistaken. But we will figure something out, guys. The best thing to do is to keep an eye on our Twitter page, if you don't already, at @FantasyWeekly_. We'll give you all the latest updates on there. Until then, thank you for tuning in. Panel, thank you for your expertise as always. Good luck this game week. I'm excited to find out how we all got on. Have a good rest of your morning. Get some breakfast down you. Dave, get back to bed. You need it. And